From the director of Zombieland and 30 Minutes or Less comes Gangster Squad? Gangster Squad stars Josh Brolin, Ryan Gosling, Sean Penn, Emma Stone, Michael Peña, Robert Patrick, Anthony Mackie, Nick Nolte, Giovanni Ribisi. There's a lot of people in this movie. This movie takes place in Los Angeles in 1949. It's that old film noir look where, you know, Hollywood was very glamorized and everyone smokes cigarettes and everyone has hats and suits and they go to these big fancy clubs where women sing and these giant bands play, and a lot of people get shot because there is a gang in town, and this gang is starting to own this town, and it's run by Mickey Cohen or Sean Penn. He's like the gangster of all gangsters. And Nick Nolte comes and recruits Josh Brolin to get these other guys to form this gangster squad, as they begin to call themselves, to try to end Mickey Cohen's reign of crime over Los Angeles, but they're not going about it lawfully. Gangster Squad is an interesting movie, and I'm not going to go too much into this, but there were certain scenes in this film that had to be cut due to the tragedy that happened last year, because there was like a movie theater scene in the film and they had to cut it and replace it with something else. And I was trying to identify in the movie, like, see if I could pick out like where something was removed or replaced, and honestly, I couldn't. And that's definitely a credit to the filmmakers, because I wasn't really able to identify like what was removed and what was added, even though I knew that something was, so that's pretty cool. Gangster Squad is not a perfect film, it definitely has flaws, but I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I found myself enjoying it. It's one of those movies where, although there is a lot of violence in it, and it's definitely a serious tone overall, there's a lot of humor in the film, and it's a film that you can watch and enjoy if you don't mind seeing a few nasty sights. First off, let me get this out of the way. Josh Brolin is awesome in this movie, and that guy just keeps impressing me. He is such a versatile actor, and here he is a really cool character. He's this cop who has a wife who's pregnant, which, yes, is a kind of a movie cliche, you know, as a wife and she's pregnant at home and I hope nothing bad happens to her, and yeah, it's a cliche, but this movie kind of embraces that cliched style of 1940s Hollywood being overly glamorized and everything is so fancy and glossy and fake in a lot of ways, and this movie really kind of embraces that style, and I think once you accept that and realize that, you can have a lot of fun with this movie. And Josh Brolin is pretty awesome in this film. He's this cop who just wants to see this guy, Mickey Cohen, go down. He's going to do anything to get him there. Ryan Gosling is also a cop in this movie, and he's this kind of hard-hitting guy who has a little bit too much alcohol in him sometimes, and he can snap really easily, but he's also this very quiet and timid man at the same time. But he's the kind of guy where if you approached him, you know, you might just talk to him for a while, and then you might just see like a little glimmer in his eye of maybe a little bit of insanity, kind of like his character in Drive, and he's great in this film. Gosling is definitely a scene stealer in this movie. He has two of the best scenes in the movie, and I don't want to spoil what happens, but the best scene in the movie for me was the scene in which his character was given motivation to finally step forward and join the Gangster Squad. That scene was intense, very stylized, and not in an overly, you know, look at this kind of way. It was really interesting and really well done. A lot of slow motion and really great use of music, and just his performance in that scene, it was definitely this really nail-biting centerpiece of the movie, and I was really impressed with it. Sean Penn just chews up the scenery as this guy Mickey Cohen, and you can look at his performance and you can kind of chuckle a little bit. I'm sure he knew that, putting on all that makeup, that he was definitely going for it. This isn't some little tiny role. He was required to be this big, nasty, disgusting guy and really just eat up everything around him, and he did a good job with that. Now, as I said, this movie is not perfect. It does have flaws. There are certain things in this movie that definitely could have been cut out. It feels like the movie is a little too long, and I don't mean that it got boring. I just feel like there was just a lot of stuff in it, you know? And it seems like it could have been cut down a little bit to condense the overall product into a more fluid picture. Tonally, the movie is a little inconsistent, and I think that might be my biggest problem with this movie. Certain scenes are so intense, and you're like, wow, that was just fantastic. And then all of a sudden it has this really light comedy aura to it as well, and I think a lot of that comes from the director having made two comedies in the past, even though Zombieland definitely had a lot of action in it as well. Some people have said the movie is preposterous, but I would agree with them if this movie was trying to be 100% serious, but I can tell it's not. Overly glamorized Hollywood where everything just happens this way. There's big shootouts, big fights, and you know, a lot of it is cliched, but the movie definitely has problems, but overall it's a well-acted, fun picture with some really great sequences in the film for sure. I just wish that the tone was a little more consistent, but I still really enjoyed Gangster Squad, and I'm going to give it a B+. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, if you like this review, then you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.